Hello, welcome to the Age of Sigmar Stat Center, where every single week we look at the event results from all over the world. But this is an exciting, kind of different episode, slightly different episode, because I'm going to add a new thing into the stat show that we're going to do every single week. And we are going to look at the player rankings. So shout out immediately to Warhammer Rob. I did an interview with him on Patreon last week. If you want to go check it out. If you don't, that's fine. But Rob does all of the event information for me every week, and we collaborate a lot on this, and he's super cool. And one of the things that's really important to him are player rankings, and they're important to me too. I think it also gives player rankings are really good and really healthy because they give everyone a goal, something to achieve at the end of the season. Games Workshop, well, we've done player rankings for several years, and we kind of fell out of it for a year, but we're back, and we're going to be doing it very seriously. And the reason for this is we want to give everyone goals and something to achieve and something to work towards. And Games Workshop do run this thing called the ITC, or the International Tournament Circuit, ITC rankings, but I'm not sure they even do it anymore. So I'm just going to ignore it. I'm going to pretend Games Workshop doesn't exist like I always do, and I'm going to let you know that we're doing player rankings for Age of Sigmar, and I'm very much looking forward to it. And that's the first thing we are going to look at today. So if you go onto the honestwargamer.com, the name of the show.com, not very complicated. And then if the top of this, you go onto Age of Sigmar and you click player rankings, which is where we are now, you'll get brought to here. So you can look at the faction rankings, you can look at country rankings, you can look at club rankings, so you can look at the current stats if you want to. But today I want to talk about the people, because when we do the events, it's mainly about the people. So let's look at the best performing players in the world this season so far. So this is updated as of before this weekend's results that just came in. So this is our top 10. In number one, and we take the best 6 events. The reason we do the best 6 events is I think that if you want to be in the run-in of claiming that you're decent at playing a game, playing it at least once every 2 months doesn't feel like it's a major deal. So let's have a look at it, shall we? In number one, we've got Tom Guan. He's attended the most events. 900 is the total best score. The breakdown of that is you get 20 points for a win, and then you get some amount of points depending on how large the event is. But it's not very much. The biggest event only gets you an additional 10 points. Now, obviously, the US is a little bit more advantageous with slightly larger events, but we cap it at 50, so that's super important. So, you don't need to have 100-person events, and if you're having an event that's over 12 people, you're pretty much getting 8 points, and a 50-person event is getting 10 points. So the difference is very small, so I wouldn't be too stressed about that. They used to do it much different in ITC because they wanted you to go to big events because they ran the big events. Doesn't happen anymore. So Tom Guan's our number one best performing player in the world right now, representing Harambe's heroes. Then you got Geir Videld over from Norway. Tom's obviously based in the US. He's over from Norway with an absolutely stunning record. He just needs to improve his 6th event here, but everything over 100. Matt Beasley, part of the Pacific Northwest, absolutely solid Warhammer player, and also Pacific Northwest toughest meta. Then Mike Maccabee, again based in the US. He got a ton of wicked scores with that Nighthorn early in the edition, but Mike's still amazing. Hazel over here from the UK and one of our Twitch family, so we love that. The 9-inch fails up there. Really great score as well. Alexander Gonzalez, also from the PNW, Pacific Northwest, with an amazing result series there. And also it's 666. Then you got Fred Schmidt. Fred the Legend played an absolutely ton of games, again, based in the US, over from the Georgia Warband. He just hasn't got a 5th event result in. So a 6th event result in. So if he got one more event result in and it was around 100, that's going to put him in 2nd or 3rd place, which is pretty crazy. Mason Knox, also from the US, again, doesn't have a 6th game result in, but 606 gets another one, starts putting him in 2nd or 3rd place in the world. And then Michael Rausch, our man, Swaggy Shadow Sword, again, not with that 6th game result in, from the Midwest of all places. So if anyone says the Midwest can't produce good players, you can say that, on the whole, that's true, but in Swaggy's case, it's not true. And then finally, Dom Stonebridge over here from the UK, again, needs that 6th event result in. And I know he's playing at my event this weekend coming, which potentially, on a good result, puts him in 2nd and 3rd place. So this top end is pretty solid. If you have been to a 2-day event anywhere in the world, you should be able to go and find yourself in here. Now we're going to look at the best performing players in some of the factions. Okay, so the next thing we're going to look at are going to be the player rankings based on faction. And this is super cool, in my opinion, because this doesn't necessarily require. It doesn't necessarily require like you to play a lot of games or play a lot of events to make some really spurious claims about the quality of your gamesmanship. And as long as we can like tongue-in-cheek take this information in, I think it's actually super cool. So if we look at Stormcast Eternals, which obviously the big poster faction, you can see Dom Stonebridge from the UK is our best performing Stormcast Eternals player in the world with 4 events in the bag, 436 points out of 900. Then Jack Geiger from the Corsairs, I think it's West Coast, Stormcast as well, not far behind. Nigel Weir, Model Citizen, so that's going to be Australia. Colin from Northern Ireland, Start Pista, also West Coast. Sarah Livingston, West Coast as well. I'm pretty certain. Nathan of Coffee and Sigmar, great name. Eric, Tom Rands, and Travis Boyson. Now, the important thing for me is people like Travis, right? Travis can say, without a lie on his lips, I'm the 10th best or the best performing. I don't like to say best because I say best performing because best is a little bit, that way leads to ego. You're the best performing, okay? Travis is the 10th best performing Stormcast player in the world. And that's a cool accolade to have, okay? In my personal opinion, right? It's a cool accolade to have, even if it means literally nothing. Like I'm currently gunning. I live in England. I live in the East. I live in the East Midlands. East Midlands, West Midlands. I live in the Midlands. I'm trying to be like at least the 14th best Fire Slayer player in the Midlands. Will it mean anything? It means nothing. It's worthless, but it's fun to say and it's fun to do. And what you can do is Travis can say, do you know what? If I go to 3 more events and I do okay, I might get up to like 3rd place. And that's a vibe, okay? And I think that's really important. If we're looking at Slaves to Darkness and you just type the name of the faction you want to look at on the right-hand side there, you can see Christopher Gropp from the Georgia Warband, best performing Slave Starters player in the world. Stian Egbenson, he's over from Norway. He is up there as well. Thomas Oliver from Cake Thieves is doing really well. Sebastian Hedberg, Kieran Alinda is also up there, number 5. Benjamin Hoskins. Orpheus, and this is a fun thing to shout out. Orpheus down here in 9th place is 12 years old. So Orpheus, our 12-year-old, 13? I think Orpheus might be 13. I think he's coming to an event this weekend, actually. Is the 9th best or best performing in the world. So shout out to him. If we're going to look at OCR Bone Reapers, Jesper Melenda, who we just saw playing at the Atlanta event for position to win the event with OCR Bone Reapers, he's going to get another really good score in here for event 5. So he's up there. Geir Videld over from Norway, 2nd place. Nut Videld over from Norway, 3rd place. Michael Toons also, I think, might be from Sweden. Michael Rausch, Midwest. Natty, who's 13. Right? Who's 13? In 6th place. So very, very cool. Love that. And then finally, if we look over at Gloomspite Gits, we see Ricky Fisher, Dimensional Cascade up there in top place. Kenneth King in 2nd. Hazel Moon in 3rd. Greg Brewer in 4th. Gavin Grieger in 5th place. So I think a cool thing to talk about with these things is becoming like just a mediocre on the table. Like, so in the chat, I love him to pieces right now while I'm streaming. Pershaw, he's at an event this weekend over at my place. He is now the 9th best performing player for Slaanesh in the world. And I think he's been to like 2 events. And that's a cool thing to say. Does it mean much? Not much. But does it make you feel good? Yeah, it does feel good. So check out your names on here, go to events and attend them. And now we're going to start looking at the event results from the weekend. There's my note. Remember to look at the rankings. I've done it. Okay. I'm going to be looking at those every week. Let me know if you want me to look at them every week in the comments below. And now we're going to start looking at all of the event results. Sorry, before I do get to the event results, I forgot to also mention this, the club results. So the best 20 results from your club mates. So when you sign up on BCP or Malarkey, Malarkey's much better, you can include your club name. If you include your club name, you're going to be able to put points towards your team. Imagine it's like a team event, but it's happening all year. And then the top 20 results. So Harambe's Heroes, based out of Texas, currently the best performing club in the world. In the world. Tough crowd, doing pretty well. also based in USA. Georgia Warband also doing well. Corsairs also doing well. The world, you need to step it up because the top 4 are all the US. 5th place, 2D6, Norway. 6th, Dimensional Cascade. That is also the US. The Dojo, I think, is US based as well. 9 Inch Fails, the only UK team on there. The only UK team. 9th place, Warp Dice. 10th place, SoCal United. So only 2 nations able to battle it out against the US. And that is the strength of the 2D6 in Norway and the 9 Inch Fails here in the UK. The first event that we're going to look at is the Age of Sigmar World Championships of Warhammer Atlanta event. This is the Golden Pyramid style event where you win tickets and you attend, and like you get the tickets, who knows how. Sometimes win an event, sometimes knowing your mates, whatever it might be. But importantly, a ton of people turned up. I can't remember how many people, actually. I should know. 124 people battled it out. And there were some incredible players, a bunch of world-class players battling it out to be the best Age of Sigmar player at this event. And it was an 8-round event. It was something along the lines of you played in pods or groups, and then those groups had winners, and then you did a bracket, and then you did some other stuff, and there was a shadow round. I know you're going to ask me, Rob, what the hell's a shadow round? Don't worry about it unless you live in the US. But emergent across an incredibly tough event against some incredibly good players was Casper Karlsmoos. And he is part of the Danish national team. So a special congratulations to Casper, because this does mean that both Denmark are back-to-back world champions, and he personally is the world champion of this Atlanta event. So that is incredible. Denmark literally have all of the trophies right now. They're sitting on top of the world, which is very cool. So let's go look at the list. Okay. So Casper was running Sentinels, the Bleak Citadel, Stormcast Eternals. He had the Morbid Concentration Manifestation, and he had Krondis, a unit of Prosecutors, a unit of Vanguard Paladins with Starstrike Javelins, a small unit, only an unreinforced unit of Vanguard Raptors Longstrike Crossbows, a Lord Relictor, and then a reinforced unit of Prosecutors. If only there was some sort of online commentator who makes content about Age of Sigmar, who'd been talking about just how good Prosecutors are since the very first week of Age of Sigmar 4 being out. I can't think who it might be, but that guy's probably a genius, and you should like and subscribe to his video. Leave a comment, please. Okay, cool. What is it about this list that makes it super good? Well, number one, it's played by arguably one of the best players in the world. The Danes are stunning. I love how they play. I love the way that they play, and they're very, 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 very good at Warhammer. That's just the simple answer. And they practice, they learn, they train, they grow. And Casper is just a great example of that. Wonderful person, kind, funny, great. What's good about the list? 2 cast wizard, prosecutors are too cheap. The Vanguard Paladins are amazing for an alpha pin. I made a video about that on Patreon a couple of weeks ago, where I kind of talked about a Stormcast list, and I talked about alpha pinning and why it's so effective. We've seen that with a Dawn Rider list. We've seen that with OCR Bone Reaper list, and we've seen that with a few other lists as well. Unlike those other lists, Stormcast is a perfect answer to being alpha pinned because of their teleport shenanigans that you've got in here, backed up by the Lord Relictor. And then you've got some really good combat units, and the Raptors with crossbows being super solid as well. So it's just a really good list, super fast, really effective. I'm sure we might hear some more from Casper at some point in the future in some other media channels. But I just want to say a special congratulations to Casper. Great, love to see it. So if we look at the other 4 top armies, because there's so many to go through that we're just going to look at the top 4. What's quite fun is Jesper, who lost in the final, was running OCR Bone Reapers. Ronya, Night Queen Ronya, was running Disciples of Zinch, was running Zinch. And then Jean-Baptiste Ames was running Cruel Boys. This does mean, and also shout out to Swaggy Battle, Shadow Sword in the chat. So it does mean that Games Workshop kind of hit the trifecta this weekend. Well, not trifecta, the quadrifecta. Anyway, where you had a different army representing each of the Grand Alliances. So we have Order, and obviously we had Order OP at the top. Then we have Death, Destruction, and, well, Chaos and Destruction. So let's go look at those other lists. But they're going to be really happy about that. And as I have been saying, every single stat show for the past several weeks, while, yes, there are definitely some armies at the top, that are like pushing the envelope, and they're a little bit too strong. There's a ton of diversity in the 4-1 section, and I've been saying that it's very healthy. Okay. Anyway, let's look at Ronya. Also, yes, I should also point out that 75% of the players in the top bracket were also from the Scandinavian countries, and then one from France. So also Scandinavia OP, please nerf. Right, if we look at Ronya, her Disciples Tzeentch list was running the Weird Flame Host. It had Kairos Fate Weaver, Reinforced Unit of Horrors, Change Caster, Chaos Spawner Tzeentch, and a unit of Flamers. Then a Lord of Change and 3 units of Pink Horrors. Great for holding objectives, great for swamping objectives, great for doing battle tactics thanks to Kairos, very effective. Looking at Jesper's list, this is an incredibly unique list, and even though it did end up winning and losing in the final, I think, as we've talked about multiple times on the stat show, this is a really solid way to play your OC arcs. He's running a Mortek Ballistari battle formation. He was running the Horrors of the Necropolis, and he had Catacross, a unit of 5 Death Riders, a reinforced unit of Morghast Archai, a Mortek Crawler, then an Ossifector, another Mortek Crawler, and the Terratic Cohort. And obviously in that Mortek Ballistari list, we saw this originally several months ago coming out of Sweden, because that's where Jesper's based. Now we've seen it played, I think one weekend we saw it played in Sweden, the US, and Australia, all over the same weekend, and definitely has become very, very popular. And then Jean-Baptiste Ames is running Cruel Boys with Primal Energy, and then he was running Kragnos, Reinforced Unit of Gut Rippers, a unit of Monster Killers, a unit of Manskewer Bolt Boys, Marshcrawler Sloggoth, then a Swampcaller Shaman, another unit of Monster Killers, a unit of Manskewer Bolt Boys, and a Manskewer Bolt Boy unit as well, another Reinforced unit. So now one of the things that we've talked about a lot with Cruel Boys, or Cruel Boys players have said, is they have a reliability problem. Like when you are focusing on using all of your dirty tricks, they don't happen all the time, so you can't rely on them. Interestingly, bringing Kragnos in, that's just a big punch piece that doesn't overly necessarily need elements of that allegiance ability to work, and makes the delivery of that Gut Rippers unit much more likely to happen. So I think that is a very sensible choice. And then there's a lot of shooting in this list as well. We talked about all that shooting anyway. So, yeah, the big takeaways from this weekend are from this event, Scandinavians OP, diverse top end of the game, very, very tight games as well, and they're very swingy, and a really healthy place for both the community to be, because the energy coming out of the event that I watched on the French stream in French was very high, and also a great thing for people to be playing. But game good, community good, process of the game. And I did talk about this off air a moment ago. Definitely we need to look at the battle tactics. The game is definitely defined by the battle tactics right now, and especially armies that can either alpha pin or reliably do tactics. I think the Tzeentch list by Ronya is actually a really good example of it doing both things very, very well. And if you look at her scores, they're huge, like 46, 45, 42, 44, 38, 50. She got a 45-point loss. You can only get 50 points. So she got a 45-point loss, which is pretty crazy. Anyway, a cool event. Hope everyone had a good time. Looking at our next event, we're over at Du Bois GT in Rochester. So this happened in New York, took place at this absolutely cracking location, I think in West Henrietta. I think it's the same place it took place last year. Anyway, 84 players, absolutely brilliant, organized by Josh Keel and Madigan. Shout out to Madigan. And we have 2 5-0s in this event. We have Gavin Grieger and Michael Sabetti. Gavin was running Beasts, which puts him on back-to-back Beasts of Chaos wins last week and this week. And Michael Sabetti with Stormcast Eternals. A really fun thing about Gavin's list is this top line that he's added in his list. Nuge, so that would be the Matt Nugent, doesn't deserve the Beasts of Chaos trophy 2,000 points. So if we use the Honest Wargamer stats, okay, if we use the Honest Wargamer stats and we can go and look and see that in first place in our rankings, the Nuge, which is Matt at the top here, he is currently the best performing player with 446 points. So with 2 back-to-back wins, that's going to be 120 points per win. That's going to put him on 240 for Gavin. That's already going to put him in joint 3rd place. So if he wants to knock the Nuge or Owen Jackson off the top spot, he's going to need a couple more wins with the Beast of Chaos, and immediately will be threatening him. So what we're saying is is the Beast of Chaos meta is hotting up and anyone could be the champ at the end of the season. Anyway, in Gavin's list, he had the Marauding Brayherd battle formation with bestial manifestations. It was a 2-drop, and he had a Great Bray Shaman, and then he had 4 reinforced unit of Bestigors, a Great Bray Shaman, and 2 units of Ungor. This, so far as I'm aware, is an undefeated Gavin list, which is pretty cool. In the other 5-0 spot, we had Michael Sabetti with Stormcast Eternals, doing really well this week. He was running Karazai, so Krondis and Karazai, doing well this week, with Praetors for the 5-up ward, a unit of Vanguard Paladors with Starstrike Javelins, and then 2 reinforced units of Long Strikes for 12 Long Strikes, which is pretty gnarly. Then the Night Relictor and a unit of Gryph-hounds as well. So those are our 2 5-0s. Just there's a lot of bodies in the first list with Beast of Chaos, and then there's just a lot of output and a lot of survivability for the Stormcast Eternals list. Let's go look at the 4-1s. With such a large event, we're going to have a lot of 4-1s, and there's some absolute superstars here. Bread, Mr. Ryan Bryan with Skaven, Jonathan Corbry with Stormcast Eternals, the wonderful Dylan Thoreau with Cities of Sigmar, the incredible Basil in Ferrara with Slaves to Darkness, Ross McCune with OCR Bone Reapers, the beautiful Ridge Hanna with Skaven, Mark Polinsky with Soul Black Gravelords, Christopher Shine with Stormcast Eternals, Luke Scannell with Maggotkin and Nurgle, lovely to see that, Jeffrey Rolls, Stormcast Eternals, Oliver Dempsey, Stormcast Eternals, Josh Barron, Slaves to Darkness, Mike Story, Disciples of Zinch, Greg Di Tommaso with Gloomspike Gits, Garrett Vander with Gloomspike Gits. Loads of Gits, loads of Stormcast. Let's drive straight in. Garrett, with his Gits list, was running a Trog herd. He had Dank Manifestations, Dank Old Trog Boss, 6 Rock Guts, Trug, a Dank Old Troggoth, a Fellwater Troggoth, Rock Gut Troggoth, Fungoid Cave Shaman, and then a Regiment of Renown in Big Grix Cruel Shots, adding some much-needed shooting to this list with Beast Skewer Killboy and Killbow, and 2 Man Skewer Bolt Boys. I think adding a bunch of shooting in here is really good. You've obviously got like the big rock gut hit. You've got Goods Wizards as well. You got the Trug to do all the work. Brilliant stuff. Mike Story was running Zinch. His manifestation law was Morbid Conjuration, Kara's Fate Weaver, Horrors, Flamers, all reinforced, Pink Horrors, Lord of Change, Blue Horrors, Chaos Spawn, Screamers of Zinch, all demons all the time, loads of horrors. Told you they'd work well. Boom, and there we go. Josh Barron was running a Slaves to Darkness, the Swords of Chaos battle formation. That is very rare. And he was running Abraxia, Varangard. This would be an old list. This is not the new book, obviously, because points aren't out yet. But that is a lot of Varangard and Abraxia to make them fight, not strike last with the second turn. They all had, and this is probably going to... anyway, very good. Yes, very good. And then Oliver Dempsey was running Stormcast Eternals with the Thunderhead host. He had Gavriel Shoreheart, a unit of Annihilators and Meteoric Grandhammers, a reinforced unit, a unit of Prosecutors, Gardas, another unit of Annihilators with Meteoric Grandhammers, Knight Zephyros, a unit of Vanguard Paladins, Starstrike Javelins, and then Vanguard Raptors, Long Strike Crossbows, reinforced. So pretty fun. Gardas gives you +1 to charge on a turn in which you drop and +1 attack. So when the Annihilators drop down with Gardas at the same time, then, or is that Gav? Oh, no, Gardas definitely gives you that. That unit is going to get +1 to hit, +1 attack. No, +1. No, it's going to at least give you +1 attack and +1 to charge, which is interesting. And then Shock and Awe from the Knight Zephyros is probably going to make them -1 to hit on that turn as well. So, like, that's amazing. Drop and absolutely literally hammer their faces in. And the output on 6 Annihilators with Grand Hammers is wild. Absolutely wild. So that's cool. Jeffrey Rolls was running Stormcast Eternals in a Vanguard wing. He had a Ventis Firestrike, a reinforced unit of Prosecutors, Vanguard Paladors with Starstrike Javelins, 6 Long Strikes, Knight Arcanum, Quest of Soulsworn for the first strike spell, Vigilers and Vigilers, 2 units of 2. I did say that we might see these 2 units of 2 Vigilers pop up in the future. They're just great for tactics, 18-inch range on the bows. Their support role of giving you +1 to hit, adding into the rest of the shooting in the army is good. Aventis is the hot pick here, though. That's super interesting. Shout out to Jeffrey. Luke Scannell was running Maggotkin of Nurgle in the Taliban of Nurgle with the Aetherwalk machineries. He had the Glotkin, unit of Plague Bearers and Rotmire Creed. Then a great and clean one, Plague Drones, and reinforced unit of Blight Kings, then Horticulate Slimmix. This is a rare achievement to get Nurgle up into the 4-1 section, which is very fun. Glockkin especially rare as well. Haven't seen this very much. So this is a very cool achievement, but it's still great. Unclean One is up there to bring all of those demons back from the dead. Mark Polinsky was running Soulblight Gravelords in the Death March with Aetherwrought Machineries. He had Manfred, 2 reinforced unit of Graveguard, a Necromancer, 3 unreinforced unit of Direwolves, a Mortis Engine, and the Fellbats. So really good front line, really tough to push through any of the Direwolves. They're so in the way, and then you're going to slap people with those 3 hammer units. Manfred, 2 units of Graveguard. Absolutely solid. Absolutely solid. Mortis Engine in a great support role. Rich Hanna running Warp Cog Convocation. His manifestation law was the Forbidden Power. You should have called this list the Forbidden List. It's got Thanquol and Bone Ripper, 2 units of Clan Rats, a reinforced unit of Doom Flayers, and then a Night Runners, Arch Warlock, a unit of Clan Rats, and then 2 reinforced unit of Rattling Guns, which genuinely is quite nice because we have seen 18 Rattling Guns. So I think just 12 Rattling Guns is very mature. Clan Rats for holding objectives, some good wizard support, and then the Doom Flayers for just rinsing through other units. Very cool. Very cool. Ross McCune was running OCR Bone Reapers in the Kavalos Lance. He had the Liege Kavalos, a reinforced unit of Death Riders, a small unit of Death Riders, a reinforced unit of Harbingers, Mortek Crawler, Soul Mason, and 2 of the Terratic cohort. Becoming pretty common now to see this double unit for tactics. Tactics define the game. You need those 2 units that are going to do your tactics, and they're either going to be they're not going to be your 540 point unit. That unit's going to go and get stuck into the enemy. So you need those other units, and we're seeing them there. Basil in Ferrara was running Slaves to Darkness in the Godswrath Warband with Twilight Sorceries. He had Bellicor, a reinforced unit of Chosen with Nurgle, Chaos Sorcerer Lord, and then a unit of Chaos Knights with Nurgle, Varangard, and Varangard. But no reinforced Varangard, instead 2 smaller units, which is cool. Dylan Thoreau was running Cities of Sigmar in the Ironworld Guild Army. He had a Rune Lord and a unit of Hammerers. Then a Freegun Marshal and a Relic Envoy, the Command Corps, and then a reinforced unit of Fusiliers and a small unit of Fusiliers. Then a Sorceress with a unit of Dark Riders and Dark Shards, and then Callus and Toll, a free guild Fusiliers and Toll's Companions. So that does mean that there were 40 Fusiliers in this list, which is some good backline shooting as your Hammers can move up the board and do some solid fighting. We know Callus and Toll are super good into Wizards and Priests. That's what their job is. Go look up their War Scroll. It's so good. So that's a very interesting list. Command Corps making it in there as well. I think this is a change for Dylan, who previously was adding a bunch of Dark Elves in the list. So maybe he's moved the Dark Elves over to these. So that's fun. And then Jonathan Corbray was running Sentinels of Bleak Citadel in Stormcast Eternals list with Primal Energy, Celestant Prime, Reinforced Prosecutors, Reinforced Paladors with Starstrike Javelins, Reinforced Long Strike Crossbows, and then another smaller unit of Vanguard Paladors with Javelins, then Knight Arcanum, and then Vigilers and Vigilers. Those 2 units again, just for tactics. All units we've seen before, but the Celestant Prime, pretty cool. And then finally, Ryan Bryan, as we all know him as Bread, was running his list, the Bussy Blasting Machine. His manifestation law was the Forbidden Power. He had a Warlock Bombardier, a unit of Clan Rats. Then he had 1, 2, 3 units of reinforced Rattling Guns for the Big 18, a Grey Seer, a unit of Clan Rats, a reinforced unit of Clan Rats, and then a unit of Storm Fiends. So this still does mean that there were 80 Clan Rats on the board with 18 Rattling Guns and some Storm Fiends. It does go brrr. That's exactly what it does. Anyway, hope everyone over at Du Bois had a great time. Loads of love to all of you. Our next event takes us over. This is the Renegade Open 24 AOS GT. And this is in Minneapolis, in Minneapolis. Anyway, organized by Renegade Wargaming and Travis Winter. Had 44 players battling out to be the champs over here on Campus Drive in Plymouth, Minnesota. And our 2 5-0s, we had 2 5-0s at this event, is Daniel Dow with Sylvaneth and Paul Wilms with Nighthorn. Daniel Dow was running Sylvaneth in Outcast with the Manifestations of the Deepwood. He had Belthanos, a unit of Colonel Hunters with Great Swords, a unit of Colonel Hunters with Great Scythes, Warsong Rev, Gossamer Archers, Tree Revs, Branch Witch, Gossamer Archers, and Tree Revs. So quite a lot of the smaller units, like double Gossamer, double Tree Revs for tactics is quite interesting. No Alariel in the list as well is wild. Absolutely wild. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. So well done to Daniel. And then Paul Wilms with his Nighthawk Deathstalkers army was running Morbid Conjuration with Reichner, the Grimhaler, 2 units of Grimgrass Reapers, 1 reinforced, 1 not. Unit Hexwraiths, Lord Executioner, Alrak the Drowner, 2 unit of Bladegeist Revs, and a unit of Chain Rasps as well. So, like I've said about all the Nighthawk lists, any opportunity to have as many bodies on the board that can ignore Rend is very good. Hexwraiths are much faster, both very effective. No Ariel for Daniel, crazy as a choice. But you get so many more things in the list. You get 2 units of Kurnoths. That's very effective. That's very fun. So that's very cool. Now looking at the 4-1s, we can see Jackson Keeley with LRL. Nice to see them in there. Daniel Thorson with Gloomspite Gits. Joe Cryer with Disciples of Tzeentch. Davis White with Blades of Corn. Aaron Carr with Bone Reapers. And Eric Stock with Sylvaneth. When we go through the list, we see Jackson Keeley's Lumineth Realm Lords list was a Hurricane Temple battle formation. His manifestation law was the Morbid Conjuration, and his general's regiment was a Venari Lord Regent, a unit of reinforced Sentinels, a reinforced unit of Dawn Riders, and River Blades. Then he had a Hurricane Wind Mage, 2 Wind Spirits, and the River Blades as well. So gone are the days maybe where we see the double Wind Spirit take out all of the 5-0s, but still with a 4-1, you can't be mad about that. So well done to Jackson. Daniel Thorson with the Gloomspite Gits Gloomspite Gits Squigalanch list. Manifestation law was Morbid Conjuration with Kragnos, a reinforced unit of Boiling Rock Bounders, a reinforced unit of Squig Hoppers, then a Fungoid Cave Shaman, and 2 reinforced units of Squig Herd and Squig Hoppers. Now, this might be the way we see more Gits lists go in the future, with a more offensive front line rather than the defensive Trog list that we've seen in the past. So shout out to Daniel. Joe Cryer was running Disciples of Tzeentch in the Weird Flame Host, and his manifestation law was Morbid Conjuration. His general's regiment was Kairos, Chaosborn Tzeentch, the Changeling, and Zangor Skyfires, which were reinforced. Then Lord of Change, and then Horrors, and a unit of Flamers of Tzeentch. These Skyfires definitely were really popular at the beginning of AOS 4. But maybe with that change that we saw to covering fire being a reduced range, maybe we're going to see those Skyfires drop out of popularity for more horrors on the board. Davis White was running Blades of Corn in the Bloodbound Warhorde. He had a Slaughter Priest, unit of Blood Warriors, unit of Blood Reavers, unit of Mighty Skull Crushers, and unit of Skull Reapers. Then a Bloodthirster and Sense of Rage, Bloodletters, and a Skull Taker in there as well. So the Boomthirsters, super solid in my opinion. Lots of bodies on the board, and Skull Crushers are becoming more and more popular. Aaron Carr was running Bone Reapers with the Horrors and Necropolis, and Arcan the Black, Kavalos Death Riders reinforced, Mortars and Bone Shaper, Harvester, 2 reinforced unit of Mortek Guard, and then Mortars and Soul Mason, and another reinforced unit of Mortek Guard. That's crazy. That's a crazy list, I won't lie. 60 Mortek Guard. And maybe we're starting to see, with Horrors and now this, maybe we're starting to really understand that people are getting that scoring those objectives is becoming more and more crucial, because tactics, I think people have worked out how to do tactics a little bit better, or even maybe being able to push out from things like Alpha Strikes or Alpha Pins is quite important as well, but that's still a cool list. And then Eric Stock, the manifestation law, the manifestation to Deepwood for his Outcast Sylvaneth army, is running Alariel, a unit of hunters with bows that was reinforced, and Belthanos, Spirit of Dirthu, Gossamer Archers, and Tree Revs. And without any big institutional changes to Sylvaneth lists, this is pretty much a cookie cutter Sylvaneth list, which I think is really good. Dirthu, Gossamer, Colonel Hunters, Great Bows, all those other things, just very, very good. Alariel, Belthanos, and Dirthu is a super fun time. And you know, what an amazing army to paint up. You've really only got to paint up Alariel's a model, Colonel, a big one, obviously. The 6 Hunters, Belthanos, Spirit of Dirthu. So you're on 9 models currently, then Gossamids and Tree Revs. This is I think this is a 19 model list, which is just absolutely brilliant. So congratulations to everyone at Renegade. Hope they had a good time. Our next event takes us to Scotland for the BRW Dog 24, with 36 players battling out inside a brewery, which is fun to see. Phil McGuinness is our only 5-0, and it's Flesh Eater Court, which is a big upset for people saying that they suck. But this is following the trend of Flesh Eater Courts list that we've seen do well in the past few months. He was running Usharan as a general, and then he had a Royal Decapitator, then an Abhorrent Cardinal and 10 Crypt Guard, and then an Abhorrent Gore Warden, and 1, 2, 3 units of reinforced Morbeg Knights with the Morbid Conjuration. This has really picked up speed as a kind of counter pick and a very difficult army to play against. These Morbeg Knights are really popular, arguably because they're the strongest scroll in the book, and everything else is playing a support role for them, which is very cool. So it's really cool to see. Congratulations to Phil. In the 4-1 bracket, we've got 3 4-1s. We've got Reese Fraser with Sylvaneth, Callum Campbell with Gits, and Chris Yeo with Stormcast Eternals. Reese, with his Sylvaneth list, is running Lords of the Clan with Morbid Conjuration. He had Lariel, Belthanos, Spirit of Durthu, 2 units of Gossamer Archers, and a Branch Witch. But instead of bringing any Kurnoth Hunters, he has brought the Saviors of Cinderfall instead, with Callus and Toll's Companions, which are obviously so good at holding objectives and fighting against wizards and priests. I personally would have swapped that out for the Neve Black Talon, but Neve's a lot more expensive, and Saviors will play a different role, but still great regiments. So shout out to Reese. Then Callum Campbell running Gloomspite Gits was running, also Reese is fantastic, was running the Moonclan Scrap, and he had the Primal Energy, a Kragnos, 2 reinforced units of Loon Smasher Fanatics, unit of Squig Hoppers, a Fungoid Cave Shaman, another reinforced unit of Loon Smasher Fanatics, unit of Moonclan Shooters, and a Rabble Rouser. That's right, 30 Fanatics in this list, with a Rabble Rouser giving Kragnos run and charge, and Kragnos giving the Loon Smashers 3d6 charge. That is super fun and very Destruction Brain. Then Chris Yeo running Stormcast Eternals, the Vanguard Wing. His general's regiment was Ionis, a reinforced unit of Praetors, a unit of Vanguard Pilots with shock hand axes, twice reinforced. So that is 12 Vanguard Paladors with shock hand axes is crazy. And then a unit of 6 long strikes with Ionis. That's a cool list. And then a unit of Praetors that was reinforced as well. It's a super cool list. Very unique. Have not seen that before. And that is all the power in a couple of places. Very fun. Congratulations to Callum. Shout out to everyone in Scotland. It's a great place to go play Warhammer if you get the chance. They're a really solid and fun community. You should go check it out. Our next event is the amazing Fantasia Fanatic. And this is, I don't know, is this 16? 16, I think it is. Anyway, Fantasia Fanatic being held in Sweden with 36 players battling it out. Okay. So, in first place, our only 5-0 is Joel Cornfield with Daughters of Cain. And he had a Scathcoven sub-faction. He had the Manifestations of Cain. He had Marathi Cain, a Melisar Ironscale, a reinforced unit of Blood Sisters, a reinforced unit of Blood Sisters, a unit of Heartrenders, then a Hag Queen, Doomfire Warlocks, and Shadow Stonkers. All those things, that is very cool to see, because I'm really not sure why we don't see more DOK. Past couple of weeks, we have started to see more Daughters of Cain in kind of 4-1 sections, but more and more 5-0s. More and more 5-0s, and they are making their way back. So it does seem like they're picking up speed. So congratulations to Joel. That's very cool to see. In the 4-1 section, we've got Marcus Pearson with Soulblight Gravelords. He was running the Bacchanal of Blood sub-faction with Morbid Conjuration, with Prince Vordry, a unit of True Blades, 2 units of Blood Knights, a Vampire Lord Felbats, and Vrykos Bloodborne. This is the second time in as many weeks we've seen massed ranks of Blood Knights doing very, very well at an event. Vordry and 20 Blood Knights doing exceptionally well. This is not the first time, and I think it's going to be a continuing trend. Then Per Sigvalis with Stormcast Eternals was running a Vanguard Wing, and he had a Manifestation or Primal Energy. His general's regiment was Karazai. He had a unit of Praetors, a reinforced unit of Vanguard Paladors with Starstrike Javelins, a reinforced unit of Vanguard Raptors Longstrike Crossbows, a Knight Arcanum, a Storm Coven, a unit of Vanquishers, and a unit of Vigilers as well. So not too dissimilar to what we've seen. Definitely those Starstrike, those Vanguard Paladors have got like a cross on them for some sort of FAQ in the future. Not long strikes though. They're obviously fine. Rickard Lindgren, was running OCR Bone Reapers. Got a 4-1. He was running Mortars in Council. with the Horrors of the Necropolis. His general's regiment was Catacross. His unit, he had a Mortis Guard, Liege Cavalos, and then Morghast Archai, and then a Fort Martian and a reinforced unit of Death Riders. Then we had Tobias Markson, also with Gloomspike Gits. His list was a 2-drop. He was running the Squigalanch with a manifestation or dank manifestations, Scragrot, 2 units of Rock Guts that were reinforced, Trug, reinforced unit of Boingrot, reinforced unit of Squigherd, and Squighoppers. So very similar to what we've seen being run for Gits through the whole of the edition. Obviously, Scraggy, a really cool 2-cast wizard with a great magic missile spell. So that's really solid. Rock Gut's just so tough even now, even with the points change. Oh, we've got a lovely picture of Tobias there. That was cool. And then finally, we have, we've got 2. We've got Edvin Eklund with his Gloomspike Gits. He was running the Squigalanch with the dank manifestation, was Scraggy, a unit of Boingrot Bounders, 2 reinforced unit of Rock Guts, and a smaller unit of Rock Guts, and Squig Boss, Boingrot Bounders, Godpalooza, and Squigherd. So everything I said about the previous list applies here as well. Gits still super strong. And then finally, Jimmy Norkvist was running Flesh Eater Courts, Lords of the Manor, and he had the Manifestation or the Manifested Insanity, and then he had Usran, unit of Crypt Flayers, a Marascroll Herald, a unit of Morbeg Knights, a smaller unit of Morbeg Knights, and then a Cardinal, Crypt Horror, and another unit of Crypt Horrors. So it's pretty cheap. Crypt Horrors, Crypt Flayers, and a Morbeg Knights gives him 3 big hits, as well as Usran, which is quite cool, hitting the 4-1 in Sweden, which is a super, super tough meta. So congratulations to all those players. I hope they had a great time. Our last event takes us to the German Major in Hamburg, with 32 players battling out in Germany, I think it was taking place at the Julius Liebe Schule, which is just a great venue if you've ever been. Okay, so the organizers of the event were Sven Schauer. Definitely got that wrong, and I'm going to get every other name wrong as well, and I apologize about that. In first place is Dominic de Cassen with his Oziark Bone Reapers, or their Oziark Bone Reapers. He was running a Cavalos Lance with a Manifestation or Horrors of Necropolis. He had Catacross, 3 reinforced unit of Death Riders, a unit of Mortek Guard, and Mortek Soulmason, and the Terratic Cohort, which is pretty cool to see. A big alpha pin list that slams in, makes it so you can't score, and wins through attrition. Very cool. On 4 wins and a draw, so not necessarily a 5-0, but still undefeated, is Colin. Colin's super cool with Claren. He was running Cruel Boys Lightfinger as a battle formation, Kragnos, 2 units of Monster Killers, and 6 Manskewer Bolt Boys. Then 2 more units, of Monster Killers and a Beastskewer Killbow. Then a Shaman, and then a unit of Cruel Boys Monster Killers. That does take us up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units of Cruel Boys Monster Killers, backed up by Bolt Boys, getting 3d6 charge from Kragnos, which is cool. Pascal Weimer of the Itterfurler Wildechas was running his Nighthaunt army. He was on the Deathstalkers battle formation with a Manifestation or Morbid Conjuration. He had Lady Alinda, reinforced unit of Bladegeist, reinforced unit of Hexrays, reinforced unit of Hexrays, Lord Executioner, Guiding Souls. Craven Throw Guard was reinforced, and Dreadside Harridans. Nighthaunt will continue to be a major player through all of Age of Sigmar 4 unless they get a big update with their book, because it's just a lot of wounds on a lot of unrenderable save, and that's what you need to win games. And then Bastian Gernstnader of the Kriegsmottek with his Stormcast Eternals was also able to get a 4-1, and he was running the Celestin Prime, and he had 3 reinforced units of Vanguard Raptors with long strike crossbows, and then a reinforced unit of Vanguard Raptors with Hurricane crossbows, a Lord Relictor, and 2 units of Vigilers. Don't forget, the Vigilers give all of those other shooting units +1 to hit. That is an incredibly obnoxious list. But as I like to say, very thematic, which I think is good as well. So that is it from the event results this weekend. 356 players playing around the world. There was also a couple of team events that happened. There was one here in the UK, and there was one in another country as well. So probably we're sitting around 500-600 players this weekend playing competitive Age of Sigmar, which is cool to see. Hopefully also, don't forget to go onto the rankings and look, check your names out, find out where you are. Let us know in the comments below. It'd be cool to know in the comments below where you are on the rankings. That would be fun. But my takeaway from this weekend is Stormcast super strong. Definitely true. So Stormcast is really strong. We've seen a bunch of other armies kind of pop up. Flesh Eater Courts and Daughters of Cain both win events. People are going to ignore that. Beast of Chaos winning events. So yes, we've seen Stormcast feature very heavily. Definitely we need some changes to some elements of that list just to nip them a little bit. But with the book having just come out, we'll see if that actually ends up happening. And then really diverse meta, lots of people playing. Game seems to be exploding to me. Feels like it's in a healthy place. I think we are in a video I'd like to make in the future is I'd like to talk about how different the game is going to be when we get our new battle tactics with a new JHB in the summer. And the reason I say that is because it feels like some of the lists and their win conditions are predicated on stopping your opponent from scoring. And as soon as that becomes maybe not potentially an option, then maybe we could have a really different game state. We'll see. But right now, that's definitely an important part. Thanks for watching the show. Hope you've enjoyed it. Please do like and subscribe. And if you do like what we do here, please, you can support us on Patreon. Thanks very much and have a lovely day.